What is up, you guys? We're here for our midweek alchemy message where we are unpacking the work for the week, the spiritual assignments, the way that we're approaching the work. And so from the Wild Unknown Alchemy deck, we've got 10, followed by the Peacock's Tail, followed by Conjunction, underneath 10 we have 7 of Swords, underneath Peacock's Tail we have the 9 of Cups, underneath Conjunction, we have the Sun card. And then at the bottom of the deck, we had the Queen of Wands come out again. So let's unpack these. I'm going to let you guys listen to the audio, but I just wanted to just take a minute to acknowledge just the heaviness of everything happening right now. I mean, we've got unrest at home. People are out in the streets demonstrating and being attacked here. The massacres and horrors going on in Iran right now. Our friends in Palestine are still suffering. And a lot of people are arguing over, sides. But all I care about is people and their well-being and peace and unity and goodwill. And it's not about sides or who's in charge this time, who's friends with who. It's about liberating the people of the world and human rights and human dignity. And this has been something that has been cracking against the shell of the egg for a long time. And the astrological placements, especially over the last few months, have been shifting us into huge changes as far as like borders and regime changes and political redistributing and all kinds of things. And it's happening. And when we take a look at the astrological forecast and we hear these things said in broad sweeping statements, regime change, borders change, it's easy to kind of glaze over in the moment what that means and what that will likely look like. And so we're in this time that is very tumultuous. But I do believe that we are in the labor pains of the rebirth of humanity and our unity and our oneness as a species. And it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be snap of the fingers, lickety split, But we have to be there for each other through these things, here to support the countries that are suffering, the countries that are crying out. I think they cut the internet off in Uganda today as well. It was something I saw in a flash of an update when I went into the bathroom at work to kind of like sneak to look at my phone really quick to see what was going on out there. And the whole world just needs our prayers. So many people in the world need our generosity and our kindness and our donations. I think people of the world need our warmth and our comfort wherever we can give it. And yeah, I feel bad I haven't been in touch with my Palestinian friends this week to check in on them. I've just been overwhelmed, honestly, with everything else that's been going on, and I've been kind of poor, so I haven't had money to tithe to them this week, and so I just didn't want to touch base until I had good news for them, kind of thing. But I don't know, we just all need to do what we can to be the light for others and to transform the darkness. It's not enough to overpower our enemy. That's not transforming darkness. It's fighting darkness, but darkness will still fester. But we have to transform that darkness. We have to make our enemies into friends. That is transformation of darkness, when there is no more enemy, when there's no more hatred, when there is no more darkness. Otherwise, we'll keep stuffing it down, but it'll keep crawling right back out. It'll keep spilling out of the cracks. So the true work here is to obliterate the darkness. We have to transform it completely into the light. So let's listen to the audio really quick, and you guys can see the layout of the cards, and then we will come right back and we will unpack and we'll talk. So this week, the pressure that we are enduring is breaking open a mass awakening that is literally taking on the force of darkness that continuously seeks to steal the light. This exponential expansion of awakening is helping us have the courage of our convictions to restrict the evil inclination to receive for the self alone, and instead to expand our vessels for the sake of sharing and unity. In turn, we will be blessed with harmony, peace, and prosperity, both at a macro and a micro level, collectively and individually. We are seeing through the opponent's tricks to rob us of our light and our unity, our peace, and our fulfillment. But we have grown savvy to these plots and schemes. And we say, no, not today, Satan, not today. Our expanded understanding and perspective helps us see beyond black and white extremes, this or that truths, and helps us to rise above the fray, to see the big picture. This week's energy and corresponding Torah portion reminds us that when the Israelites understood and embodied the first precept they were given, they experienced miracles. The first precept was, "And you shall know that I am Hashem, your Elohim, who brings you out." Notice that it's brings and not brought. This is not a one and done historical event, but a living and ongoing grace that we are to know and depend on. The Creator and the Creator alone is our provider and sustainer, not the outer vessels we believe in. God can remove one vessel of energy and replace it with another in an instant if need be. And if we activate that power through our faith and awareness, nothing is above the Creator. New light can be revealed from any situation as long as we believe it's never too late. All right, so the 10 card here has an interesting, I wanted to read from the book so you guys can hear all the things that I feel like are relevant. Almost every word is so relevant to what's going on right now this week and the feeling of the pressure that we're in. And let's just circle back and remind ourselves that the Torah portion this week has guided us into the wisdom and awareness that God is our source, and that God brought us out of Egypt, brings us out of Egypt. That wasn't just a historical event, but it's an ongoing experience of grace and deliverance. And it's God and God alone that brings us out. And when we say Egypt, that represents our struggle, our hardship, brings us out of the darkness. And so God is with the people of the world right now. And he is making hearts burn with courage. In the Aramaic version of the Lord's Prayer, it's very different from the modified King James version. But the Aramaic translation says, Creator of the cosmos, focus your light within us. Create your reign of unity now, using our burning hearts and willing hands, so that our acts may mirror yours. Grant our needs each day for bread and for wisdom. Loosen the cords of our mistakes that bind us, as we release the cords with which we have bound others. Let us not be unmindful, but free us from our immaturity. Use our burning hearts and willing hands so that our acts may mirror yours. Our burning hearts and willing hands. They want us to be numb. They want us to not feel. They want us to check out and to disassociate. And they know that when we don't feel anything, that we don't have what we need to muster up for solidarity and to care about the struggles of others. But that's not what's happening. Because where they thought that they would divide and terrify us and make us hopeless, our hearts are on fire and our hands are willing. Tin is a silvery white, highly malleable metal. So the key words for tin is malleable, expansive, and Jupiter. Tin is a silvery white, highly malleable metal. This is in part because tin's structure is composed of crystals in cubic and tetragonal formations that can be broken or crushed under moderate pressure. When the crystalline structure breaks, a sound known as the tin cry can be heard, hence the unnerving sound of crinkling tinfoil. Such is the energy of the tin card. On one hand, it is in tin's Jupiterian nature to expand, to mobilize, to cover the whole territory. On the other hand, the metal cannot withstand much weight or pressure. When this card appears, you may have reached a limit or a breaking point after taking on more than is logistically possible under the circumstances. Don't take this juncture personally. More strength is required before taking next steps to support the expansion you see in your mind's eye. A good cry or well needs to be heard. Let it happen. It'll release the pressure in the laboratory and you'll have a whole new perspective. In esoteric wisdom traditions, Jupiter and tin are associated with the liver. It's possible the liver may have a wise message to reveal, perhaps about excess and balance. So, tin is paired in this reading with Seven of Swords. Seven of Swords is a message about lying and cheating and corruption and stealing, right? Look at this snake spirit creeping up to steal those eggs, right? This represents the corruption, the oppressors, This can represent the ultimate corrupter and oppressor, the Satan, the opponent. But the Satan and the opponent, it uses human pendulums and puppets for its doing, for its bidding. And so when you look out in the world right now, evil is being channeled through human beings. Now, we need to be careful about listening to any bandwagons or propaganda, because they have vested interests. And some people, they take a side and they just get obsessed with their side, and it's all about political associations. And that's what makes things so seemingly so complex. Oh, it's a complicated situation, because this and this and this. Guess what? The wisdom of Kabbalah teaches us that when things are complicated, the opponent is there. And when things are simple, that's more likely the light. Right now, Iranians are frustrated because the same people a lot of people that were pro-Palestine are not supporting the people of Iran asking for help in overthrowing their regime, because that also aligns with the goals of other countries that they don't like, including the United States, the current administration, and the current administration in Israel. So you have a lot of people who would normally be on the side of the humanitarian cause feeling like they are in a confused position because of political associations and interwoven overlapping agendas. That's why the bottom line here is what's simple. Human life of a civilian, of innocent people trying to live their life and raise families and farm and run businesses, civilians of countries deserve to be free to simply live their lives in peace. That is what's most important for everyone. That is what humanity needs to unite around. That is the bottom line. Liberty, justice, prosperity for all, and that should be in the expression of whatever the people's sovereignty of their own governance desires. We can't push our projection of what's prudent on other nations. We don't live there. So the best thing that we can do is get behind what is right for the side of humanitarianism, to help the people survive, to help them find peace and prosperity and stability. Right now, masses of people are waking up to this understanding, and they're coming together in solidarity and unity, and they're using that unified voice to make their demands, to make their arguments. And all of the darkness, the oppressors of the world, they're spreading themselves thin. They're going to crack. It is only a matter of time. History has shown us this before. So we are in a moment where we are hearing that tin cry, the shrieking of the tin being stretched and bent and crushed. This is an expansion of human awakening, and an expansion of consciousness, and an expansion of the light in the world. But it is coming through this moment of darkness, pain, and uncertainty. But we have to keep voting for and showing up for and putting our effort into what we know is right. That is what is going to align us with our blessing. So that is what is going to give us peace and prosperity. And that is what is going to bring us back into that Garden of Eden. The peacock's tail is about understanding things beyond black and white. People are at each other's throats right now, and people they're confused about what side to be on because they're so vested in their team or whatever they think that the group that they want to associate with. But human dignity and survival shouldn't be a political issue. It's a humanitarian issue. So we need to rise above the fray and see the big picture here, right? This isn't about if you support the Iranian people that suddenly you're for these other horrendous agendas, right? Think of it this way. Even a broken clock can be right twice a day. And just because like the ultimate goal is shared, that might not be true either. Like, we know that the people that are ruling the world all have their own secret vested interests and underlying agendas. It's true. But sometimes, think of a pawn as a pawn. The Iranian people need help, right? Like, if that is what needs to be done, and there is help that's willing to go, we're not seeing big picture if we're like, no, I don't want them to do it. I don't like them. I'm against their team. We need to see the big picture. That's where we need to start reaching for unity any way we can. It doesn't mean that you approve of everything else that a country or an administration or a group does. But the main focus right now is helping people in the world who are desperate and they need it now, right? This awakening is happening on a macro scale, on the large scale that we see playing out in the world stage right now, but it is also happening inside on a micro scale and the individual level. We are seeing at a personal level ways that the Creator has intervened for us when we have trusted the Creator. And when we know that that connection is strong, that we're protected and that we're blessed and that we are under the shade of the wing of the Creator, right? But when we put our faith in other things, when we put our faith outside of the Creator into human vessels, into institutions and establishments and physical vessels, we lose our connection because we put our faith in something that is ultimately an empty husk. It's powerless, right? The more that we expand our understanding beyond black and white thinking, the more fulfillment we will know. Our expanded understanding and consciousness is the thing that's going to be bringing us ultimately what we want, the 9 of Cups. What do we want? World peace. We want everyone to have stability, basic needs met, prosperity, fulfillment. And it's become a consciousness that is being birthed within me, that I'm understanding on a deeper level what it is to have a desire to receive, not for instant gratification, not for the self alone, but for the sake of sharing. And I think that happened this week specifically for me at another level, because this past 2 weeks at work, things have been very slow. And that's something that we expect every January. But in the past, I only had to worry about hunkering down and surviving on my own through the winter. This year, my personal family has had worries that have come up, new concerns. My friends in Palestine, who I try to give my tithes to a couple of young mothers with young children, like toddlers. I wonder if they were okay this week, and I didn't make enough money, and I'm like, I'll be okay probably. I'm a little bit worried about myself, but not much. I'm more worried about other people who I share with, and I can't share with them this past week. I couldn't share with them when I wanted to. And that made me feel a whole new level of a desire to be more, to do more, to create more, to be able to have more to give, not just for myself, but for the sake of sharing. And it made sense. It's made sense intellectually for a long time, but I don't think that I have felt it so poignantly until recently, until now, and really understood firsthand and embodied that feeling at this level. I think, parents talk about that because they have to put their own interests or their personal interests on the back burner, because their number one concern is taking care of their children's needs. But most of us in the Western world or in developed countries, everybody's fairly stable and okay most of the time. We're not worried about life or death or survival or having no shelter. I mean, God willing, right? Most of us are okay. If you're watching this video, hopefully you have some sort of shelter or stability that you're in, even if it's nothing but a car or a vehicle. Hopefully you have that. But I just think about these little children and these young mothers that are in their early 20s in these dilapidated tents that are flooding, that are being blown away. Now they're being bombed again. I can't even begin to think of the horrors in Uganda and in Congo. And now Iran. I mean, there is literally blood flooding in the streets. So when I pray recently and I'm crying for on and off most of the day, it's not really for myself anymore. And I remembered that when we had Pluto go into Aquarius and we moved into the age of Aquarius last year, it was like a very sudden shift from worried about my own karma, my own tikkun, how, Saturn had been hard on me personally and my own personal struggles. And that shifted into the last year being almost 100% preoccupied with the world, the collective, humanity. And we were being prepared for that. Because the people who have been developing their spiritual muscles have been doing so for this time, for situations such as now, so that we could be bearing witness and praying and holding that consciousness on behalf of not just ourselves, but for others. And I think that we're seeing how vital that is, to be that central neutral column, not neutral in indecisive or I'm not taking a stance, but standing for the light and not getting dragged into tit for tat about things that aren't the big picture. Remembering all the while that a lot of these people with these big platforms, it's in their best interest to be talking about these issues and getting you engaged with their commentary on these issues, but they have an agenda many times, or they've been caught up in other people's talking points and agendas. So remember, yesterday's reading was about discernment, using your own discernment. And we've been talking about that on this channel, working on building that skill for a very long time because of how important it would be. And now we are seeing more and more how important it is that you have a clear and strong moral compass, that you're not just getting twisted in your mind with all the confusing reports and commentary, but really being able to tune into your heart of hearts, to look at the big picture, to care first and foremost for humanity, for people, for individuals, for civilians, not for groups or governments or administrations or regimes, but look to how you can be there to support the people. Look to who's suffering. That's the side that Jesus is on. Jesus is not on this side or that side. Jesus's position changes depending on who needs him, who is suffering. That's the point. It's not about what country you're from, what nationality you're from, what political party you're associated with. Jesus is with the people who are suffering, the people who are being oppressed, the people who need help. Blessed are the meek. Blessed are the poor in spirit. Not blessed are the oppressors. Not blessed is the biggest country, waving the biggest flag, saying their prayer the loudest. And so that understanding is bringing us new illumination, new light is being revealed. That embodiment of understanding is being channeled through in our acts. Creator of the cosmos, focus your light within us. Create your reign of unity now, using our burning hearts and willing hands so that our acts may mirror yours. That is the divine conjunction. That is the divine chemical, the alchemical marriage. When the Spirit of God moves through you and sets your heart on fire to use your willing hands to do the work of the Creator in the world by transmuting that darkness into light, changing it forever and ever and ever so that it doesn't continue to perpetuate in destruction and violence and darkness. the more that that sinks in and that spiritual awakening comes over us, and that consciousness is then beginning to channel through our actions and our works and our day-to-day interactions with one another. That is how we are a light in dark places. Do you see the light? It illuminates the darkness, but the darkness is engulfing. It's all around, right? There's so many images of the Queen of Wands in this deck and the feminine King of Wands. It's like they make it a point to illustrate it in such a way that there's all this dark foliage like entangling around them, and it's almost suffocating and it's claustrophobic. But the feminine King of Wands and the Queen of Wands here, they're holding up the light in a dark place. They are channeling that light, and the feminine is the vessel through which this is being done. The feminine is the soul. When we hear in the Old Testament any Bible stories that talk about the daughter, the woman, the wife, the bride, the feminine characters are representing the human soul. So the soul guides us towards the light. The soul has a desire to be reunited with that light. Our soul, like, think about the way that we talk about people, like, oh, that person's soulless. Oh, they sold their soul. They sold their soul to the devil. Like, we talk about that when people have lost their moral compass, their moral center, their ethics, right? It's the soul that's leading us, but we have to keep that connection to our soul alive. Because there is an opponent, there is an enemy, there is a Satan out there that is evil, that is dark, that is destructive, that wants to destroy everything. And that evil is infiltrating and infecting the minds and the consciousness of human beings. And they're being used as puppets and pawns to perpetuate evil and darkness. And in their mind, they're all justified. They all think that they're doing something for a good reason. They have a good reason in their mind to justify away all of their evil deeds and evil actions. That's why we have to stop being pit against one another. We have to stop fighting, and we have to start fighting for the light to be revealed. We have to just keep doing acts of sharing, keep doing acts of kindness, keep showing up, keep taking care of one another. Don't let sourness and bile seep in and contaminate everything. Last night in the restaurant, there was something going on in Nashville, in Tennessee. I don't know what was going on, but there were so many large parties in the house, and I had a table that were clearly Republican politicians. And it's always a very uncomfortable feeling when I have to wait on these Republican politicians celebrating all the horrendous things that they have just fought over in their whatever sessions they were in that day. Let's see if we can fuck them over and take their health care. Let's see what kind of cruelty we can perpetuate. Let's see what kind of endless access we can give to evil billionaires, to our whatever. Let's just lay down and let them run over all of us. I can't wait. This is what they're like in Tennessee. We have terrible Republican leaders here. And yet, I'm forced to wait on them. And I have to make that choice in that moment. Do I act like and give them bad service and be petty and drive more and more of a wedge into the situation? Or do I give them good service? Do I meet them with warmth and neutrality? And maybe, hopefully, they'll remember, oh, remember the nice people that take care of us. that actually went out of their way to be warm and do a good job, they probably rely on the ACA. They probably rely on the Affordable Care Act. And it's a long shot to penetrate beneath the calloused, tough exterior. But there are people out there that have awakened to their moral limit, like Marjorie Taylor Greene. Don't like her politics, not a fan, but I have respect for that woman who went outside of that movement and said, you know what, enough is enough. This is where you lose me here. Good on you. Props. But that's what I'm saying, though. We can't be so loyal to a group or a side that we can't see the bigger picture when it's in front of our face, right? And so we can't be petty and hypocritical and then say that the other side is like that. We have to be pristine. As a student of Kabbalah students are serious, because when you start studying Kabbalah, it's not just like, hopefully you'll be a nice Christian, hopefully you'll be a nice Jew, hopefully you'll be a nice people of all religions and beliefs study Kabbalah. It's not limited or exclusive. But when a religious person goes to church, they go to whatever, and they go through the motions, and they're like, okay, I got my due diligence done for the week, I've done my thing. Then they go back to what they do. They go through life. They fly under a spiritual radar, in a way. They're just average people. They're not really tipping the scales. They're not really making a big difference. They're just kind of like noise. The people who are serious about their spirituality, and I'm using Kabbalah because that's what I study and that's what I'm in, but like there are other mystic disciplines that are serious about transformation. But specifically, the wisdom of Kabbalah teaches that when you're serious about your spiritual transformation and your relationship with the Creator and elevating your soul and your consciousness, particularly when you start studying Kabbalah and the mysteries of the Torah, you come under what is called direct supervision of the Creator. And if you do a negative deed, it's like you immediately get a slap on the hand from the cosmos. Like, the moment you start heading into negative territory and taking negative actions or taking destructive actions, the cosmos will set you straight immediately. I burned myself the other night after, doing something or saying something spicy that I shouldn't have been saying, shouldn't have said. And I have like a 2nd-degree burn on my chest. And that I knew that was a direct result of probably some negative path that I was going down, that I needed to be corrected of it and made aware of it immediately, because when I take a negative action as an elevated spiritual person, it makes a deeper impact and a more negative impact than a person who's just going through life, going through the motions, doesn't really care much. They take a negative action, it may or may not affect people, right? When I make a positive action, that tips those scales more. It creates more of an impact than those other people, because I've revealed more of this magnitude of light, right, than the average person. So the Creator, in the Creator's mercy, if the Creator sees like a spiritual student going down a wrong path, you may immediately start, like my teacher David points out, like if you're going through the day and you're suddenly like find yourself like experiencing chaos, and you have like these little negativities adding up, and you're like, oh my gosh, like the 3 negative things have just happened to me. It's like, warning. You need to pause and self-reflect. What are you doing? Because the Creator is trying to get your attention that you are going down a negative road, and you're going to have to correct and work off that negativity. And so the small chaos, the small disciplinary acts of the Creator to get your attention are actually merciful, because the Creator needs the mystics of the world, the shamans, the healers, the spiritual teachers. It needs us in prime tip-top condition, able to do our work and show up and be effective in the world. The Creator cannot afford for one of the righteous tzaddiks on earth to be bogged down going through a process, going through some illness or some upset or some chaos, because they're working off stupid minor infractions, spiritual infractions, because they were petty about something, right? So pay attention to the minor inconveniences that are coming up for you. Is this trying to get your attention to set you back straight so that you are on the path of revealing the light into the world, on the path of sharing, on the path of revealing even more light within ourselves? Because we can't change other people. We can set an example, but what we can do is continuously do more and more work on ourselves, magnifying the light within us. That makes our light that much more impactful. That makes our influence on others more impactful. But with that influence and with that power comes great responsibility, right? I have an influence on people, so I have to be mindful about how I'm acting and what I'm saying and what kind of example that I'm setting, because I am an ambassador for the Creator. And I know I'm not always as precious with that position as I need to be, right? But in times like these, when the people of the world need our light and our voice to go out before them and serve them and help them, we have to take our position and our responsibility that much more seriously. So I think that we should be hopeful and understand that evil is spreading itself thin. And what is robbing the human family of finally that messianic age of peace, prosperity, well-being? The evil in the world is being revealed. And this is crescendoing in a very dark and tumultuous grand finale, if you will. But it is the end of an era. And the light will be expanded on the other side of this. But it is the contractions of a new era being birthed, and it is painful and uncomfortable and scary. But we are all in this together, and the more unified we are, and the more love that we can share between us, the stronger the Creator can move through us. When the Israelites were in Mount Sinai, at Mount Sinai, when they were united, when they were in love, when they were working together, they would experience miracles. They would experience miraculous healing and like limbs growing back. And they were living in the realm of miracles and like this eternal light flowing through them. But when they started complaining and they became negative and they became divided and fighting with one another, then they would become cursed and they would go through hardship and chaos, and they would have to toil with these problems and these huge like earthquakes that were sucking them into the earth, and poisonous snakes that were biting them. Like, they were plagued with curses when they would turn away from the Creator, because they had witnessed the most like obvious miracles, right? Like, the sea parted for them, plagues came down on their oppressors, like they were freed. And it's like, if God is revealing Himself to these Israelites so that they will be His people, and when they understand that God and God alone has brought us out of our suffering, then that is when we are liberated and we are brought out of our suffering. That is when we are elevated beyond the natural realm and we go into the supernatural realm, where we can be a channel for miracles and miraculous unfoldings. But only when we know that, right? When we think, oh, this political intervention is the answer. This leader is the answer. This direction is the answer. This will save us. This medicine will save me. This job will save me. This romantic partner is going to be my ticket and my, deliverance from whatever it is I'm wanting to rise above out of. Like, whatever we think, that's just a vessel. The vessel is just a container. The lover, the job, the current administration, the program, the institution, whatever it is, it's just a vessel. Everything that we want is what is in the vessel. That is the light of the Creator. The water is ultimately what is giving me sustenance. The glass is just the vehicle through which I choose to drink the water in. If I break this glass, I will get another glass out of my cabinet and put water into that glass. So too are the vessels of our life, our job, our this, our that, whatever we put labels on that we think is so important, that can be replaced in an instant. What really is the source behind the water is the Creator, not the glass. Our obsession as human beings is to get caught up on the glass. I need my glass of water. I need my glass. Where is my glass? My bottle, my cup. The vessel is interchangeable. The light is eternal. And when we see that, the vessel doesn't seem that important anymore. That is the eureka. That is the insight that begins to open the gate to let the miracles start pouring through. That is all for tonight. We will be back together again tomorrow for our weekly romance message. This week has gone by really fast. I'm tired. My day's off for tomorrow and the next day, so I'm looking forward to continuing my deep cleaning projects for January. Just getting into setting those intentions for the year. I'm going to be doing the journal questions. I've been wanting to do the journal work from the yearly overview all week, but I've just been watching the reading and catching up with the astrological notes at the end of the reading, and I'm really excited to sit down and do the journal work. And I also want to do winter and January. But this is a tool that you can use all year, and it's going to be here all year. And the yearly overview, it's already naming everything that's going on in the first 2 weeks of January. So that, just if you can imagine what the rest of the year is going to play out like. And then, winter, we've got the seasonal readings that go into what it's going to be like for each season, the themes that are going to be coming up for us personally and at large, and then the monthly readings. And there's workshopping journal work with prompts and things for your internal reflection and deepening the embodiment of the wisdom. So it's not just a forecast, but it's also like a workshop. It's a tool that will help you all year. You can go back and reference, and you can, go back and get into that ritual work with questions anytime you want to revisit yourself and the self that's becoming and unfolding through the year. So that is $12, just a one-time, no subscriptions, no hidden things. It's just $12 one time. You've got lifetime access. It'll be sent to you in your email if you go to the Stand store and you buy now button it. You will receive an email with a link to a playlist, and then all of the journal work and the questions and the prompts, those will be in the description boxes underneath the videos. Yes, I guess that is all for tonight. Then I will see y'all tomorrow. Peace on earth. and goodwill towards all mankind.